or I'm going to interview Chris Cole to find out his socionics typing. So how are you doing, Chris?
Doing okay, getting over an illness, stuff like that, but I guess I'm in a good frame of mind to do something like this.
Okay, so the first question, how'd you get into socionics and how'd you get into typology?
I took an MBTI test when I was like 15 years old, thought it was kind of interesting. Think I got INTP that first time. Kind of forgot about it until I got into college. I was probably 18, 19 then. Um, then I went on to online forum, personality cafe, looked at that. Um, Heard about John Beeb's model MBTI where they use Jungian functions. Looked at
Yeah.
that. Then from there, EJR&D's videos, he talks about socionics. So I looked up socionics, found some similarities with um, Jung's theory, except it seemed better
Yeah.
thought out. So yeah.
Okay. So next question. Let me just check this. Question. What would you describe as work in your opinion, and why do you think people work, and are there any and is there any things that distinguish work from not work? That
Work.
that question was from Joy's that question was from or not Joy's, it was from someone's in text interview or Joy's text interviews.
Right, I remember that one. And I'm going to give a different answer to what I gave the first time. Um, Work is basically action, productive action, organized productive action, which is taken towards production, basically. It could be like marketing production, like factory kind of production is what you think of the most easily, but really any kind of productive action that moves the economy forward.
Okay. So it's pretty much anything that would move the economy forward or anything that is productive, let's say, that contributes to society. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Okay. What do you do for a living or study? How did you come across this? Did you choose to come across this or not choose to come across this vocation or study? Or what are you doing now, pretty much?
Okay, so what am I doing right now? I'm working at a doctor's office, trying to finish my degree. I've got 3 classes to go on that. I really got to get that done. Oh, I'm trying to save money right now. I really need to save probably about $5,000. So that's the kind of stuff I'm doing right now.
What do you need to save money for, or is that private information?
Well, for one thing, I'm gonna have to start paying back student loans in probably 6 months from now. So I want to have something saved up for that time so that I can pay out of my monthly income. Because it's gonna be harder to save when I got payments that I'm making every month.
Yeah, that would be hard to save. I Okay. Next question. What are your hobbies and interests?
I'm interested in typology.
Yep,
Who's without
that's
saying,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I like talking to people. I like politics quite a bit. Really like politics. I like history. I used to read a lot. I used to read tons of fiction. Don't do that really anymore. Don't have the attention span for it. Mm. But yeah, that's about it right now.
Okay. Next question. What do you think there's any standards of behavior in interpersonal relationships or standards of behavior or interpersonal relationships in society? If you do, would you adhere to them? Do people always maintain them, and why? That's also from Joy's questionnaire.
So yeah, and I'm going to give a different answer again. So there's standards which people expect you to adhere to, and then there's what do you personally believe if there's standards. Do you personally believe there's a standard? Yeah, society has some standards, like, for example, no domestic violence. You can't get into it with your significant other,
Yeah,
or
kind of obvious.
well, that's a standard, and
Yeah,
you got to adhere to it. And if you don't, it doesn't matter what you feel about it. They're going to stop you, as they should. That's not acceptable. As far as what I personally believe, I personally believe a lot of that is just up to you, and whatever you feel like is what you should do, and people shouldn't be allowed to put their 2 cents in and interfere with you, except in cases where there's something which is clouding your judgment for some reason, and it's obvious. Like, for example, let's say your partner or is
yeah,
using you to pay off a ton of their debt or something, and because of this situation and that situation, they're not really into you. They're just trying to get money from you or something. Then
yeah,
it's good if someone who knows about the situation can be like, hey, dude, you should, or woman or whoever. Whoever it is, you should really reevaluate. But in general, the standard is just what you feel it should be.
yeah. So it's pretty much what you feel it should be, unless in extreme cases or in cases where the person does not have the best judgment.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, what conflicts have you gotten in recently, and what was it because of, or what are arguments you gotten into recently, and what was like the main cause of the argument?
I do not think I have been in an argument in a while.
Or
Uh,
what was the cause of your latest argument, if
right.
you remember?
That is a hard one. I cannot even remember anything off the top of my head. I mean, let me. I just don't do a lot of arguments. I don't usually come out and fight with people, but uh, yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I don't argue with people often. If I disagree with them, I don't always tell them that. I usually just de-escalate in some way.
That makes sense. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, so you get what I'm saying then.
Yeah, I do. Next one. What do you think logical means, and what is your understanding, and does it really correlate to a common view of what people think logical is? Do you remember that question?
Um, I do. Actually, I'm not so sure about that. I might remember being asking that, but I don't remember what my answer was if I was asked it. So, what is logical? Anything people do has some amount of logic to it in their head, just because the way we think has some structure to it, and
Yeah.
so it's pretty hard to think non-logically.
Yeah.
When people say that, they're usually thinking more like,
It's kind of hard to answer because it is very general.
it's very general, but also when people say that, what they're usually saying is, I disagree with that other person, so what they're doing is not logical. I mean, it's more accurate to say I don't agree most of the time, or I think their premises are false. Usually you can't say that it's not logical, period. But let's say that it wasn't, then I guess they'd be contradicting themselves. That's illogical.
Yeah. Next question. What what do people see as your strengths and weaknesses? What do people see as your strengths and weaknesses?
My strengths are I try at whatever I do. I'm a pretty analytical person. Um, I'm pretty likable as well. I'm not ran into many people that just didn't like me at all. That usually doesn't happen. So I'm a likable person. I would say that those are my strengths. That are noticeable.
And what about your weaknesses?
Oh, weaknesses. I mean, I could be more physically fit. Um, I could be more spontaneous at times, I guess.
Yeah. Is that it?
I mean, I don't think I have tons and tons of weaknesses. More like I could I could amplify my my strengths, but yeah, I don't think I have tons of weaknesses. Pretty much.
Okay. Next question. What do other people see as your strengths and weaknesses?
They
Did I ask
probably
that already?
um I would say it's the same as my personal opinion. I don't think I don't think there's going to be a difference there.
Okay. So I guess we should move on from that question.
I would you like me to elaborate more? I
Yeah,
could.
sure. Yeah, that'd be actually great.
Yeah. Well, I said I could be more spontaneous. Well, because if I was, I would seize more opportunities, maybe. Maybe see more of life, explore more options, and that could turn up more good stuff for me. You don't know what you're going to find out there until you go and look at it. But I'm more of a I do my thing. I work. I come back. I do some socialization on the internet. I read some stuff. But by the standard definition, I'm a pretty introverted person, I would say.
Yeah,
So
I am kind of as well.
yeah, exactly. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
I do.
but there's a downside to that, which is you're just not seeing as much. So you're probably you, both of us, probably losing out on some stuff that we would learn if we changed our habits in that way.
Yeah.
So that's something I think I should work on. Um, I could also I could also be a harder worker. When I am at work, I always spend all my time on that. But like for example, when I'm not, I don't always think about that. Like I turn it off generally um, when it's done. Um, I could do more planning ahead for like where will I be 10 years from now? What I tell myself right now is, well, I just got to finish my degree first, and then that's when the planning can start. Because see, the thing about planning is you can't plan for stuff when you have no knowledge of what the factors and the circumstances are and what opportunities you'll be having. You need to know that stuff in order to be planning for it. So it's pretty hard to plan at this point. But still, I feel like I could be doing more in that direction than I do.
Yeah. That's that I actually understand. I am relatively the same way. Next question. So someone is sick, so a teenager or slash adult is in your home is sick with the flu and feels miserable. What would you do?
A child or a teenager? Which
It
one?
says an adult slash teenager.
Oh, okay. Um, well, so they're like a teenager who is about to be an adult kind of a thing.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I would tell them that it sucks you have the flu, and I hate it because I just had the flu yesterday, believe me. So why don't you take some Benadryl and sleep all day and yeah, just chill. I guess that's what I would say.
Okay. What areas in life would you like to would you like help in?
Overall, I think I'm doing okay, but I mean, life is more interesting when you have other people involved in it. Like, for me, life is exciting when there's a whole bunch of people and like there's a lot of stuff going on and like you're part of a bigger enterprise is maybe not exactly the right word, but it's close. Part of a bigger entity or enterprise. That's exciting to me. So if I was part of something like that, and someone was connecting me to something like that, that would be something I could use help with. That would be cool.
So you want someone to connect you to something more than you are, is like sort of some bigger picture, or is
It's
that what?
it's hard to describe exactly, but it's like I don't know. You ever watched that movie? Well, what's it called? It has Russell Crowe in it. It's the one where they're sailing on the ocean.
What's it about?
They're on the ocean. It's a Navy movie, British Navy. Russell Crowe. Oh, and they're chasing this French frigate. Let me see.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Oh, I'm not sure if I heard of it or not. But so it's about a navy pretty much, and it's about the crew of the navy. Saving Captain Phillips, is that it? One of Tom
No, no. He's sailing on the ocean, and they're trying to catch this frigate and destroy it. It's
So, so you want to be connected to some higher cause or something? Is that what it is?
yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a higher cause, although higher cause is really cool. It just has to be, we're all in this together, and we're trying to, accomplish whatever the goal is. I think that's a cool idea.
Okay. Seems kind of and I, but I should not put in my personal judgment on this because this is supposed to be kind of objective. So sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So next question. If you had enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life, what would you do with your time?
I would try and find something else that I could do with that money, like I would invest it or something, and I would try and make a difference, as much of a difference as I could with whatever my time and stuff was. I wouldn't just sit on my ass and drink and smoke and do drugs and all. I guess that's what some people do when they get a lot of money. I would not do that. Or at least I really hope I wouldn't. I would be ashamed of myself if I did that.
So you would want to you would want to help people and like fund projects and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be a worthy use of that resources.
Okay. So what are your religious and spiritual beliefs, if that's appropriate asking?
No, that's fine. Um, I mean, I think that there's no evidence to suggest any particular religious or spiritual anything, but I know a lot of people have really intense experiences about this stuff to where that they see something and they believe it's true. I mean, my personal opinion is that's more likely to just be a brain anomaly or who knows. But hey, maybe it's true. I don't know. I don't know. It's never happened to me though. So all I can say is if it was to my advantage to have some kind of religious belief or something, then I would do that, and if it wasn't, I wouldn't do that. So it would just basically be a practical thing.
Yeah. What behaviors do not what behaviors do you simply not understand?
Say what?
What behaviors do you simply not understand?
I don't understand it when people do self-defeating things. Like,
Explain what you mean by that.
okay, so let's say somebody's going to come and fight with you. They got a conflict with you. And, like, they know that unless you change such and such thing in your behavior, that, they're gonna get really mad with you. They don't want to be your friend anymore. But instead of just, like, approaching it like that and being like, hey, this isn't personal, dude, but, like, this is a deal breaker. You got to change that. They will get really mad and get very emotional over it, and
And so
They
they're
make it so personal.
they're getting emotional for no reason at you when it's kind of their fault. Is that what I'm hearing, or is that a correct
It
interpretation?
it doesn't have to be that personal, I guess is what I'm saying. And they make it really personal.
Okay. So let me just check my questions.
Oh, I found the name of the movie.
Oh, what's it called?
Master and Commander.
Oh, I don't think
Pars.
I've watched it then.
You should watch it. It is really good movie. It is a really good movie.
Okay. And so you're in the middle of a complex task, such as like preparing a meal with like several dishes. How do you manage the tasks so that things are done properly and at the correct time?
Right. Well, let's say that I was making a um there would be some kind of a meat dish, some kind of what is the word for those? Not pasta, but the side dishes. I can't think of the word at the moment. You can tell I don't cook often. But what I would basically do is,
It does not need to be a meal. It can be any sort of complex task that requires a lot of moving parts to it.
anything that has a lot of moving parts. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would first of all get down what the time estimates are for
Yeah.
each thing, and then
So, like, let's say, for example, planning a military mission or planning a spec ops mission. That would just be an example. Sorry for interrupting.
right. Well, let's say that it was a spec ops mission, and you need to make two people. You need to make your preparatory force or whatever get there within 3 hours, at least 3 hours ahead of the main force and stuff, so that I don't know, you sabotaged everything. But it can't be too late where they won't have time to sabotage it all or something like that. I would make the pre-ops force get there like a day early and just hang tight, because it doesn't make any difference if if they have to wait longer. I mean, it sucks for them, but there's very there's no risk associated with that. Whereas if they're late, you're gonna ruin the whole mission. So I
Yeah.
would make them get there super early and just chill, and then they would do their thing. Then my main force would come in there and do their thing, and I would make the pre-for ops force or whatever. If there was a way they could verify that the main force was arriving before they started their thing, I would make them do that, just so that there was no risk that the cover would be blown. But if there wasn't that option, then I would just have to roll the dice on it and hope that if the pre-ops force began their mission at this exact time, my main force would get there before the time ran out.
One second. Sorry, I got interrupted.
No problem.
Next question. How do you feel about the statement, all fair in love and war? I don't understand that question myself, honestly.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to get at is war and love are really serious things, so you got to do whatever you got to do to make it happen for you. Because if you don't, the stakes of losing are just so high, you can't afford to just lose. You got to fight for it. That's what I think it means to me. And I agree with that. I do. If there's something which is really that important to you, you can't afford to let it fail. You have to do whatever you have to do to get there.
So, so what is your, so what behaviors do you get a negative reaction from in friends or people? What things do people do that you get a negative reaction from? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm thinking when they talk about boring stuff that I'm not interested in, I guess that's a negative reaction.
What boring stuff do you mean, like gossip and whatnot? And
Oh, some kinds of gossip when it's about people I don't care about. Celebrity stuff is really boring. sports is boring to me personally. Um, Stuff I'm just not that interested in. Or when oh, what else they do? These negative reaction. Oh, I get a negative reaction when someone is pretending to be friends with me, but really that they're not very good friends or anything, like they're being hypocritical. That happens from time to time. I don't like that.
Like they only care about you for to get more power or something, or to get something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So when they're not genuine friends.
Yeah, exactly. I value genuineness probably more than just about anything else in people.
Okay. So most of your friends are there do they have any sort of traits that are very common within your friends, or are they kind of very different people? That's kind of a bad question.
I'm going to say my friends are pretty different people for the most part. I guess the one thing they'll have in common is most of them are more serious kind of people, but that's about the only thing I can think of.
So they're less maryish and they're less Do you mean serious in the socionics definition or the classical English definition?
I mean the English definition. Typically, they're not always just joking around or anything like that. I mean, sometimes there are. As far as the socionics definition, I wouldn't venture an opinion.
Okay. Okay. What is your opinion on if you're talking to someone and you find they have a different opinion about something, how would you feel if the person says they want to agree to disagree or don't want to talk about it instead of hashing out the differences between their logic and yours? So basically, I think it's asking if, like, let's say there's a disagreement, would you just prefer to just say to agree to disagree and keep it at that, or would you wanna debate it more? Or yeah.
Depends on whether I value the person and their opinion. If I don't value the person and their opinion, then sure, let's agree to disagree because I don't care anyway. If I do value the person or their opinion, then I'm like, no, I want to hear why you think that.
Or what if it's like someone who's like very dogmatic about their views and they're trying to convert you to their viewpoint?
Oh, yeah, that's just a pain. Nobody wants that. Yeah, I would say let's agree to disagree. Yeah. That's just a waste of time.
To ask you the question, what behaviors do you simply not understand yet, or not?
I think you did. I think I said like uh, fake people or something like that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure though.
Or do you have any strategies for attack? And when do you think would be justified to attack someone or to occupy someone's territory? That's also from Troy's questionnaire. A lot of these questions are copied and pasted from questionnaires.
Nothing wrong with that. Gotta use what you gotta use. Strategies of attack are there's a bunch. Like sometimes people like stand in other people's space or they sit in their favorite chair where they usually sit or stuff like that. Or they just criticize them publicly. That's a big one. Or you can also well, behind scenes, I guess you can blackmail people too if you have something on them. I guess that's kind of a strategy of attack as well, though it's kind of underhanded one. But when are they justified? They're justified when you feel like you need it and you can get away with it. And I mean, it's going to depend on the situation too. Like, what if you're wrong yourself and you know that you're wrong and you're just trying to save yourself? Well, in that case, I would opt for not defending myself with some strategy of attack. I would be like, okay, I made a mistake here. Let me see if I can work it out with this other person. I would admit that I was wrong. I think I would rather do that than be like, I'm gonna go on the attack. Yeah.
And what is the most important thing for you and a friend?
Right. Well, I think I mentioned it before. It was from another question. Genuineness or loyalty?
Okay.
Definitely. That would be it.
Yeah. What would you say is the meaning of life? Sorry, this is another stupid question. Honestly, I'm.
The meaning of life
Yeah.
is
Or what's your meaning? And do you think it would be the same for everyone?
right. I
You probably recognize this from Joy's question here. Would go on.
the meaning of life is life. There is no other meaning other than that. It's intrinsically valuable. I mean, you can make up reasons why your particular life is enjoyable, but I mean, at the end of the day, the main reason you want to be alive is just because you're alive. And the proof of that is that nearly everyone who is ever born wants to live. Like, there are a small number of people commit suicide, very small number. Vast majority of everybody who's ever born has wanted to live no matter how miserable their circumstances are. So that's proof enough that people just inherently want to live.
Yep, so it'd be kind of more biological, and because you're biologically obviously programmed to live, otherwise we would all die.
Yeah, exactly. If you've ever read those books about when there's these prisoners in the Nazi prison camps and how they go to these incredible lengths to survive,
Yeah,
people just want to live. That's how it is.
yeah. What do you think of the phrase ideas do not have to be correct in order to be good?
It sounds like bullshit. I think when I had this from another. That's what I thought when I read Joey's questionnaire on that one. It's just something that people spit out in order to. It sounds like something some pseudo-intellectual would say. An idea has to be correct to be good. It doesn't have to be 100% correct, I guess. So maybe if they mean it that, it could be true. But it's got to have some truth to it, or it's just meaningless.
Yeah. I understand that. That question I didn't totally understand. Next one. What do you usually do with your free time? Do you just prefer to have fun, or do you prefer to be productive, or what? Or what do you do during the time you're not working?
I do stuff like this typically. I would prefer to be productive if I had something productive to do. I mean, I take care of my bills and stuff like that. But I would prefer to do something more productive. But this is what I got right now.
Okay. Now, what would you understand moral to mean? Or yeah, and what? Yeah. Or to you, of course.
Moral means you keep your word, you're honest, you You do what you said you were going to do. Basically, integrity.
Okay.
I think also there's some amount of caring for other people involved in that too.
Some amount of caring involved? Yep, that makes
Right, right. Empathy or sympathy, however you want to put it, you got to have some of that too.
yeah. If you had time, would you choose to structure it or not? If you pretty much if it was up to your own devices, would you choose to structure your time or would you just prefer to keep things free and whatnot? Or would you stick to this to a schedule if you pretty much it was on your own terms?
I like to schedule my time to some extent, yes. Not very rigidly, there's got to be some amount of time to play with in there. But yeah, having a schedule is a more productive way to live, usually.
Yeah. What do you fear happening in the world right now, or what's currently happened? Do you fear getting worse, or
Well, global warming, that's one thing. Climate change, that has some very serious implications for the world at large. As far as personally, I don't have anything that I'm particularly afraid of happening that would be bad. Or if it did, if it did, I would be able to weather it. But something like climate change, which affects everybody all over the world, there's no easy solution to that. You can't just weather it.
okay? And what was your moods over the couple last days, and how was your last Friday? And what did you do last Friday? Sorry, these questions are not. Those questions were kind of stolen as well, but they're not terribly good questions in practice.
Right?
I
Last,
what?
I said right. Okay, what was my mood last Friday, and what did I do last Friday?
Yeah, what was your moods for the last couple of days, and what'd you do, and what'd you spend, and what'd you do last Friday?
My mood was sick, and last Friday I was starting to get sick, but I wasn't sick yet. So I think I was sad because a friend of mine went missing. And I just learned he had been gone for 3 weeks. Ugh, and nobody knew where he had gone. I think I was sad.
Yeah. Okay. Trying to think of other questions, or I can just. Okay. So what would you do if you wanted to create some distance between someone or something?
And myself.
I meant from someone. If you just wanted to create some distance from someone, what would you do?
Right. I would talk to them less frequently, probably.
Yeah, that one's okay. So I
Or
guess, or what were you gonna say?
I could also, like, pick a fight with them, and then they would want more distance from me, and that would accomplish the job. One of those two things. How are you considering with like classifications and whatnot? Would you like to make your own classification system, and how are you with like systems and whatnot? I think I'm fine with classification systems. I
Yeah.
always got that kind of a stuff. Um,
would you do it if there was no practical value to it, or would you just kind of like give up on it if there was not?
Well, when I was a kid, I think I made up some classification systems for fun. I haven't done that now that I'm grown up at all. Maybe I would if I was a kid again. um, I mean, usually a complicated classification system doesn't have a lot of use to it that I've seen. There are cases where it is useful. So if there was a case where it was useful, I would try and make one.
Yeah. And what about socionics? What about socionics keeps you interested in it, and what about it do you like about socionics?
Right. So what I like about socionics is it's a pretty simple explanation for how different people might feel about stuff, and how they might act, their structure, how their mind works. And it seems to work pretty okay, especially considering how many people it's trying to cover. It does a pretty okay job. So for that reason, it's very appealing because it's very useful. It does a lot with just a few categories.
Yeah. Hmm. And what about typology in general interests you, and typology and I meant, what about psychology interests you, and later typology?
Well, typology as a whole is interesting because it's simple again, and it tries to explain a whole different class of people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or, oh God, I'm being incoherent. So, like, take indicators which give you percentages of this trait or that trait. It becomes very hard to differentiate one person from the next as far as their scores on something like that, because eh, eh, it's all blended together. You don't have
So
the opportunity to compare one to the other who are supposedly the same thing. Now, when it comes to psychology in general, well, it's a study of how humans think and behave, and I don't see how that could not be useful. That's incredibly useful.
yeah. Now, what would be a good situation, or a situation you feel competent in, or a situation you feel good in, pretty much?
I feel competent in most situations, I think. I would feel good in a situation. Um, oh, I like to go to like baseball games and stuff like that. That's cool.
You like to go to baseball games?
hmm I like the all the people being
What
there and
about
all the
baseball
noise.
games do you like?
It's the fact that there's a lot of people there and there's a lot going on all at the same time, and I like the particular stadium which is right by where I live in Arlington here. Um, yeah, we have a pretty neat looking stadium. I like that about it. Been there since I was just a little kid. And I have some good memories associated with it too. So,
Yeah. Hmm. What? Trying to think of something. What would be a bad situation, or a situation where you feel hopeless and insecure?
I don't think there's a situation where I would feel hopeless.
Or a situation that might not be good for you. Like, feel like you're kind of stuck.
Right, right. I would feel bad. Wouldn't know what was going on, something like that. Well, like if I was stuck at the bottom of a well, that would not feel good. If I I saw this one show one time about a guy who was out hiking apparently, and he got his arm caught underneath
Yeah.
like a giant rock fell on his arm and trapped him, and he ended up having to cut it off with his pocket knife. It took him like 3 or 4 days to do it, but he ended up doing that, and he still lives after that. But that is like one of the worst possible situations I could possibly think of, to where you know what you're going to have to do to save your own life because there's nobody nearby, and it's going to be so horrible and painful, but you know you've got to do it. It's the only way you're going to live. That is like one of those horrible situations I could think of.
Yeah, that would be pretty horrible.
So I would not like that situation. That would be like my nightmare situation, actually. Having to like cut off a part of my body or something, and if I didn't do that, that was the only way I was going to survive. I can't think of anything worse than that off the top of my head at all.
And what? And how are you with your general health, pretty much, or how good are you at monitoring your own health, or comfort, or whatnot, and your own body in general?
Right. Well, I don't always remember that. Sometimes I forget. But I mean, as a rule, I try and make sure that I get 8.5 hours of sleep, and when I do that, I pretty much stay okay. Except I got sick and have the flu now. So you can see how much luck I'm having with that. But this is the first time in months. Usually, I don't get sick.
Okay. But how in general are you at monitoring your health? Do you monitor it very much, or do you not really care too much about it?
Well, what does monitoring it mean exactly?
I mean, like caring about your health pretty much and checking up on it regularly.
Well, I don't go to the doctor. I don't weigh myself. I don't really do much of that stuff. Obviously, I brush my teeth and do hygiene stuff, but that's all that I do as far as my health, really. I don't take vitamins or do anything like that.
Okay.
I do hate feeling sick, though. I absolutely do hate feeling sick. I just hate it.
Is it because you hate feeling sick because you can't be productive, or it's because you just your body does not feel good, or what's the reason you hate being sick?
It's because I feel terrible. I mean, I can't be productive. Yeah, there's that too. There's absolutely that too. But the main reason is it just feels terrible.
And how do you feel about your coworkers in general?
I tend not to. Yeah.
Yep. And what dislikes you about your coworkers? What generally interests you, or what, or how do you feel about them?
I mean, I feel like they're just people trying to do a job just like I am. They're trying to make money, trying to make ends meet, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they're all right people. They're not particularly amazing people, but they're not really bad people either. They're just about average people, I think. Yeah. I feel neutral about my coworkers pretty much.
Okay. So I guess to wrap this up, give a general picture of yourself and tell me about yourself and what details would you provide to explain what kind of person you are as general to wrap this interview up.
I would say I'm an ambitious person looking to make his way in the world, find good career fit for himself, find his niche, so to speak, and I would say that's what I'm about right now. Pretty nice guy, friendly, no ill will towards anybody, just looking to do my thing.
Good. So I guess we should wrap this up now. And I was going to talk about your type. Should we stop the broadcast now?
I mean, you could talk about it now, and then it would be on the broadcast. Or if you want to put it in the description, I guess you could do that too. It will be either way.
Yeah,
you might.
I would probably wait to put it in the video. But or put as a comment in the video and wait to what and let's see what other people see.
That sounds good to me.